search. That's where the joy lies, and the fascination. Let the others scurry about gathering their contemporary bits of gossip. This is where the meat is found.
When I first began creating the Marciano project, Redemption, the life of Rocky Marciano, a multi-volume biography, I really wanted to get so deep that it was almost like I'd had the opportunity to speak to Marciano himself. Of course, that'll never happen. Through contact with his family and friends and others who knew him, I'm getting pretty close. But through the wonders of modern technology, I can live that fantasy for a few minutes. So here you are. This is the closest I'll ever get to interviewing the remarkable Rocky Marciano. The answers Rocky gives are genuine answers to genuine questions that were put to him during the all-time computerised heavyweight tournament of 1967, and some of them are really quite revealing. I'm here at a very, very bustly convention centre where everyone's come to see Rocky Marciano, and it's my great honour that the man himself has agreed to spend a few minutes chatting with me today. So here's Rocky Marciano. Hi Rocky, thanks for talking to me. You were a small heavyweight, and a lot of people just can't understand how you were able to do what you did. Do you have any views on that?
Well, I think that I became a dedicated fighter, and because I had single-mindedness, a purpose of winning the title, I just overcame a lot of handicaps. A lot of people thought I had too short a reach to be a heavyweight champion. A lot of people thought I wasn't big enough to be a heavyweight champion. I have the big legs and was not too fast in the ring. The one thing I really had was strength. Body punching became a very important phrase of my fighting. I hurt many opponent and was able to bring their guard down so that eventually I could punch them to the chin and take them out.
You mentioned strength there, Rocky. What do you think is your biggest strength?
My strength was aggressive breakthrough in fighting, in close quarters, or being able to back a man against the ropes, walk through 3 or 4 punches to get inside, and then swap punches with him.
What type of fighter, if any, do you think would give you the most problems? A boxing stylist or a slugger like yourself?
I just have done so well against opponents that have fought it out with me that I feel that here was my real biggest asset, was the fact that if a man opened up with me and it was blow for blow and I had him up against the ropes, that I usually come out the best, and that's why I feel I could handle that type of a man better.
So do you feel a boxer, someone with more skill, would be a trickier opponent?
In my prime, I was aggressive enough to walk through a good boxer.
You've got the highest knockout percentage in boxing history, if not the highest, one of the highest. Did you go in the fight knowing you were going to knock everyone out?
You never really know if you can knock out a man, you know. We always believed in boxing that if a man didn't want to get knocked out, you almost couldn't knock him out. I believed that I couldn't be knocked out, and I think this helped me in my positive thinking, and although I was hurt on a number of occasions, I never ever believed that I would be knocked out. So it's hard to say if you can knock out a guy. I have never ever in my pre-fight talks have ever said that I would knock out an opponent.
You talked earlier about your strengths. Did you have any weaknesses that you saw in yourself?
I couldn't fight going backwards. I've never learned how to fight going backwards. I never had the arms for it. I never had the reach for it. I never had the style for it. My strength, again, was to come in and bowl and move and go forward. My head on my opponent's shoulder, being able to step in on balance and punch. When I was going away on a few occasions, which I had to, I lost that part of the fight. When I broke away from a clinch, it was strictly 1 half step back and then 2 steps in. I just have never, ever even practiced going backwards, and this is why I had to fight going in. I think that if someone could have stopped my forward movement, they'd have had a big advantage.
But of course, as you displayed time and time again that your opponent's advantages were soon changed when you landed that folded punch of yours.
Of course, the first good punch landed always does have an effect. I think this is a very important part of fighting. In fact, I based my whole ring strategy on that particular thing. I try to land the first good punch because sometimes it would make the opponent cautious, or it could hurt him and make openings. It could change his complete style. It could get him so confused that he would try other things.
What was it, do you think, primarily that helped you overcome what many people see as your physical limitations?
I think that because I trained as hard as I did, I became strong and rugged and was not afraid to take a punch, and realized I had to get in close to do most damage, and so I was prepared for it. I was geared for it. And when I got into a fight, I took a punishment the first couple of 3 rounds, usually losing the early rounds, but was able to bore in and do damage with my short arm punching. That is where the arms are very close together, and able to put a lot of power into 6 and 8 inch punching. I wasn't a boxer, so I had to stay away from the middle of the ring, which I did in all of my fights. Most of my knockouts, I would say about 95% of my knockouts came when I had my opponent against the ropes. Only a couple where the opponent was in the middle of the ring. My big advantage was to bull him, slug with him, and then find an opening.
How did it feel, if it's even possible to explain, to be the heavyweight champion of the world?
Pretty difficult to really explain it, other than it's a great feeling of confidence, a feeling that you have done your job well and that you are the best of the fighters in the world. It's not only a United States deal, it's an international feeling that you can beat anybody in the world that has tried to take up the profession. And it's a great feeling to know that in a rough business you are the best, and because of it people accept you and people look up to you. In fact, there are all kinds of walks of life that respect a man that can take care of himself and win the title and do it right.
Did you feel rather like John L. Sullivan, that you could lick any man in the house?
Yes, of course you feel this deep down inside, but of course every champion is of a different nature. I would never ever make that statement, nor did I ever show that I was the best man in the house or in the stadium or in the auditorium. It was just a quiet, confident feeling of being able to talk to just anybody, and knowing that they respected you for what you were able to do.
Finally, in 1956, after 49 professional fights, you retire unbeaten. Was there any single reason for this, or was it a combination of things?
Well, a combination of reasons. I then had no contenders. It was a situation where Floyd Patterson, then an 18-year-old youngster, he was the boy that had won the Olympics and was the most talked about young prospect in the country. I would have to wait a year for this man to come along. And in the meantime, I had no fights lined up. My family had been on me for being in the game too long. Of course, I finally made that decision and announced my retirement.
Well, since your retirement, the heavyweight champions, and heavyweights in particular, have got a lot taller and a lot bigger. Do you think their size would have been an advantage or a disadvantage if they were ever to face you?
Hitting down, too, has its disadvantages. I know I fought men who were much bigger than myself, and as they were punching downward, it did not have the same effect as if they were punching straight ahead or even punching up. Now, I have knocked out a lot of guys because I was able to punch going upwards. It just seems to have a lot more force to it. Whereas when you punch down, some of the force is taken away, and somehow you don't get a clean shot. You're able to ride with a punch or block most of them or smother them. I have never been knocked down, or don't ever remember of being hurt with a punch that came from high to low.
Rocky, it was great spending a few minutes with you and you answering these questions. You any final words for everyone?
Can only say that I enjoyed it, I liked it. I never really knew fear. I never was really hurt. And I just think that in my prime, I could have fought with anybody alive. This is Rocky Marciano. When I held the heavyweight title, they called me the Brompton Blockbuster. You'll find out why.
Thank God for people like you that can keep this history going, because there's history there. And it's history that has never been repeated.
So I kind of hesitated talking to you at the beginning. But when I read the book, I changed my mind.
Yeah, I'd like to see it do better in No Kick. I mean, I like it, John, and I know, man, you put a lot of work into this, man, and I just would like to see you, you know, get something out of it for your efforts and the work. And as a family member, you've written about things and interviewed people, things that I haven't heard before that were exciting. And
I think that you're really, really getting it down. And I'm not saying that you're not getting Rocky. You certainly are. Keep looking for that balance.
There's a champion inside of you. If you know just what to do, your dreams will all